So first and foremost we see that what was the reason behind a kind of a feeling of discontent among the people? Complex rituals we saw. Then also you had rigid structure. So there was the rigid structure, hierarchy was there, and as a result of it, the Jinas wanted to provide the people with a new orientation to give them a new meaning in life. Okay, we see that there was a lot of emphasis on personal training, and therefore salvation was something that could be attained if a particular individual was willing to learn. So today let us take a look at the belief system. So when we look at the belief system, we see that the Jainas hold that the Jaina religion is eternal. Now, what do we mean when we say that the religion is eternal? Any idea? When we say religion is eternal? Okay, so in a way what they say is that it has been revealed repeatedly through different periods. Okay, in a way revealed again and again. And this has happened through different teachers or Tirthankaras. So therefore the Jainas believe that their co-principles, okay, that their co-principles such as non-violence, truth, then non-stealing, chastity, and non-possessiveness these they believe are eternal truths. Okay, and therefore these principles are in a way considered to be unchanging, applicable at all times and at all places. And therefore we have also the role of the Tirthankaras. Okay, so these were the enlightened beings and they had attained knowledge of everything. Therefore, they were called omniscient. That means having knowledge of everything that is possible. Now we also see that they were considered perfect teachers. Who would go on to establish the community which was fourfold, which included monks, nuns, laymen and lay women. Okay, we'll come to this a little bit later. Now another important feature of this is cyclical time. So here they speak about two half cycles, that is ascending and the descending. No, this is just a kind of a feature of the religion. I mean, what it is about. Okay, so we see that when we speak about cyclical time, there are in each half cycle. Okay, so you have two half cycles, ascending and descending, and in each of these half cycles there are 24 Tirthankaras who appear at various intervals to in a way revive and teach the Jaina religion. So as we saw also in Buddhism, when there is an erosion of the teachings, when the teachings are not being followed, then you have again somebody who comes in order to bring the people on the right track. Same thing happens here. So here they say in each of the half cycle. So this we will take a look a bit later in detail when we deal with this whole concept of the main aspects of religion. So as of now we see that when the values are eroded, you have the Tirthankaras appearing in order to revive and teach the Jaina teachings. Then also we see that when we speak about repeated revelation, so when we speak about repeated revelation, it is said that the Jaina texts in a way mention, as we saw yesterday, there were 23 Tirthankaras before Mahavira. Okay, and therefore each of these Tirthankara's preachings or teachings is preserved and passed down through scriptures as well as oral traditions. Later on we will be taking a look at their teachings and their scriptures. And therefore we see that these teachings are believed to be rediscovered. So that means whenever each Tirthankara comes, he is not teaching anything new. Okay, it's just a rediscovery of the things already there and making it applicable to the context or to the situation. So, and therefore we see that in this way there is a kind of a continuous or a continuity that is being followed. So also we see that this is something to do with their belief. Now next, what is important to look is the founder. So first and foremost, when we look at the role of the Tirthankaras, we see that they reached the state of moksha or liberation at the time of their death. And this was as a result of personal effort. We'll come to that. This is just the initial introduction. We'll come to the deeper concepts later. So all your questions will be answered then. So then we also see that they are regarded as gods and worshipped by the Jainas. And the belief among the Jainas is that it is only on the authority of the Jinas or the Tirthankaras that one can have or one can attain clarity on certain spiritual methods. Okay, on certain spiritual matters, you can attain clarity only by following their teachings, only by, in a way, listening to what these have to say. Why? Because they have experienced it through their own effort. They have been able to attain the liberation. And therefore, we see that the teachings and their lives itself, okay, so their life itself is a living testimony of how to attain liberation. Okay, so it is they themselves who show the possibility of reaching this liberation. Just as we have the whole concept of saints who by their lives show us the path, similarly here by the teachings and by looking or reflecting on the lives of the Tirthankaras, you can see how you are able to attain liberation. Now it is said that before Mahavira, okay, you had Parvanatha. Okay, so the 23rd Tirthankara, and we said he was the immediate predecessor of Mahavira. So Parvanatha, and he is said to have preached the doctrine of love and ahimsa, okay, non-violence. And he is said to have had 4 vows, that is, not to destroy life, in other words, not to kill, not to have any violence, not to lie, that is truth, not to steal, and not to own property. And it is said that his successor, that is Mahavira, added the 5th vow of chastity. Okay, so now we can take a look at the life of the founder, Mahavira. So he was born, so first and foremost, he is the 24th Tirthankara, and so we see that he was born or he lived during this time, 540 to 468 BC. He was born in a royal family, okay, in North India, in the town of Vaishali. So we see that his a little bit of info about the family. His father was Siddhartha Maharaja, who was the ruler of Kundapur, and mother was named Priyakarini. So at the age of 30, he left home. Okay, so now at home, who did he leave? He left his wife, he left his child, family, and he started to live a life of renunciation and asceticism. Okay, so we see that there are a lot of similarities with the Buddha also. Okay, and we know that in a way they were contemporaries.
Why the first one is not that longer and then the last?
We'll come to that. When we start doing the teachings of it, we'll come to that. So let us go slowly. Otherwise, too much together, we'll be confused. Okay? So this is just in a way introducing the religion, introducing the founder. Then we'll go into the concepts deeper. Okay, so it is said that he passed. So for 12 years, okay, he led an ascetic life. So this included hard penances. And also it is said that whatever afflictions, whatever calamities, whatever difficulties, challenges that he faced, he was able to do that with a calm and undisturbed mind. And at the end of all this, he obtained omniscience. In other words, he got the knowledge of everything. Okay, and that is why he is called the victorious, the conqueror. Or also he is called the great hero. Again, all this is because in a way he was able to gain victory over the passions, over the worldly things which he was battling against. So we see that all these ascetic practices, these hard penances and facing things with an undisturbed mind, in a way helped him to obtain omniscience. And therefore you will see now in their lives there will be a lot of similarities, okay, between him and the Buddha. So it is said that he realized his true self with the rigorous austerities as well as penances. It is said that he also understood the nature of physical bondage. And also how we become slaves to our passions, how we become slaves to the attachments, how we become slaves to the worldly things. So by understanding the nature of bondage, we see that he was able to find ways to achieve total liberation. Okay, and this liberation included liberation from rebirth and bodily existence. And therefore he said that this ideal state of freedom, this state of liberation can be achieved only through a radical ascetic life. And if you again go back to what we learned in Buddhism, we see that initially also the Buddha started by having various rigorous practices, right? And when he decided or when he realized that it was not helping him, he decided to stop them and continue. And what happened to the 5 ascetics who were following him? Okay, why did they abandon him? Okay, so because he had left these practices. So earlier also the belief was that one can attain liberation, one can free oneself from bondage only through these ascetic practices. Okay, and here also we see that the same thought is followed. Only through a radical life of penances, radical life of austerities, fasting, etc., only then can you gain mastery over yourself. Okay, otherwise you become in a way dependent on the body, a slave to the bodily needs. Here it is said that the essence, so in order to gain this freedom, you need total renunciation. Okay, and this renunciation is a total renunciation from bodily comforts as well as material objects. Okay, so in the words of Mahavira, he says, it is owing to attachment that a person commits violence, utters lies, commits theft, indulges in sex, and develops a yearning for unlimited hoardings. Okay, so if we again analyze this statement of his, So he says that it is because of our attachments that a person commits violence, utters lies, commits theft, indulges in sex, and develops a yearning for hoarding. That means having more and more. Now, if we look at this, do we find something similar to what we have already seen? Okay, suffering is one, but just today, in the beginning, we saw something, right? We looked at certain principles. Okay, so when we spoke about the core principles of the religion, is there some connection here? So, non-violence, then truth, then non-stealing, chastity, and non-possessiveness. So we see that all these principles in a way have come out of the experience, have come out of his realization that to gain liberation, first and foremost, you need to live an ascetic life, and an ascetic life that has complete or total renunciation. So we see that the modern day Jainas believe that this message, okay, or these words of the Mahavira are in a way very optimistic. That means they fill one with hope. It also leads one to be self-reliant, to be self-disciplined, self-purification, and also to develop the possibilities that one may have. So we see that in a way the teachings imply again the value of individual commitment, individual dedication. Why? Because we see that if you want to attain something for yourself, hard work is required, so you have to rely on yourself, discipline is necessary, and also you need to commit yourself to purification. Secondly, we see that there are n number of possibilities that are there for every individual. So ultimately what we choose, what we become is as a result of our choices. So therefore he also says that we need to carefully look at the choices and also develop whatever capabilities that we may have. Okay, rather than just focusing on one, develop the capabilities or the infinite potentialities of the human self. Okay, so when we look at his life, we see that he lived a life that was focused on non-violence and compassion. Now, throughout his life, he taught the 5 great vows which we have already looked, as well as he initiated many into his way of life. Okay, so in this way we see that. Now, what are the 5 great vows and how can we classify them? Okay, so as we have already seen, the first one would be non-violence. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at them one by one again. So, this in a way refers to, so by non-violence, what do you think is implied? Not killing, not hurting. Okay, so in a way, not causing harm to any living being. Okay, which includes humans, includes animals, includes insects, and also includes microorganisms. Now, yesterday when I tried to ask you about your opinions, okay, some also said that they have the practice of sweeping before they go, right? So this is in relation to this, okay, because they are not supposed to cause harm to even any microorganism. Yeah, even mosquitoes. Okay, so no, not cause harm. So that means don't kill. You can in a way prevent. Okay. So therefore, when the whole action of sweeping is to make sure that whatever is there, you brush it aside so that you don't cause it any harm by stamping or so. Okay, and therefore we see that they have to practice extreme gentleness. Okay, and special care for actions, speech, as well as also thoughts. Because we see that it is not only our actions that can cause harm or suffering to people, also our words as well as also our thoughts. Okay, when we think bad of the others, some kind of a negative aura or negative energy is being passed on. Now, what is the second one we looked at? Second vow, truth. So, this in a way is pretty straightforward. So, this means in a way speaking the truth and avoiding falsehood in any form. Okay, so here also what one could include would be to be honest in whatever you do. Because even when you cheat somebody, in a way you are lying, in a way you are putting on a false perception or a false self to the other person. So therefore you are supposed to be honest in all dealings. You cannot be deceptive. You cannot take advantage of the other person. And also it also implies not being or not practicing exaggeration. Okay, sometimes we see that an incident may happen, but when we narrate it, we will lagao masala, add some own facts and say it. Okay, that's called exaggeration. So therefore, when truth is implied, means exactly avoiding any form of deception, any form of deceit and lying. Third, what was the third one? Non-stealing. And what can we imply from this? So first and foremost, reliance is one thing, being self-reliant. Secondly, not stealing in the literal sense, that is not robbing. Also what is included here is not taking something that is not willingly offered. If suppose somebody willingly gives it to you, fine. If it is not offered willingly, you don't take it. Okay, and therefore implications don't involve in theft, fraud or cheating. Also, so the Jainas are also expected to respect the property rights of others and avoid coveting others' possessions. Okay, does that sound familiar? Okay, so we see that. Next, what is the fourth one? Chastity. So basically, the vow of chastity, as all of you all know, is the practice of celibacy. So basically, practicing celibacy for the monks and nuns, and for those who are married, it would be fidelity. Fidelity to their own spouse also comes under this vow of chastity. So, in other words, monks and nuns are supposed to abstain themselves completely from sexual activity, whereas the lay people should live according to their vows that they take at the time of marriage, or they are being faithful to their spouses. And the last one is non-possessiveness. So this in a way refers to renouncing your attachment to material things. Okay, whether it is your material possessions, your material wealth, etc. And therefore, you are encouraged to live a life of simplicity as well as minimalism and also avoid greed and unnecessary accumulation. So this also implies in a way detachment, which is again twofold, from material as well as emotional possessions. So we shall wind up for today here. Next time we begin by looking at the order that he established, that is the fourfold order in the community, which included monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen. And then we'll take a look at the sacred scriptures which are there in Jainism. And when we look at that, we'll also look at certain doctrines where the question that you all raised today will be answered there. Okay, so thank you.